and welcome to the new home of Rovers Chat. This is the Blackburn End podcast, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce our new Behind Enemy Lines feature. And we've got Adam here from Rams Talk up first for the season. Adam, do you want to introduce yourself? Where can we find you? A little bit about Rams Talk and yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Adam, as it says. But yeah, so I'm one of the hosts on the Rams Talk podcast, which is a Derby County fans podcast. There's 6 of us, and each week we do a preview podcast ahead of the game, and also a Sunday podcast to wrap up what's happened during the week and talk about the fixtures that have happened. So yeah, we've been going about a couple of seasons now. It's going well, and yeah, it's just good to get to talk to other fans, isn't it, and get their insight ahead of matches as well.
I can imagine your Sunday sessions have been a little bit happier than ours were last season. Ours was more therapy, but yes. Okay, we'll get going. So just really an overview of where Derby are at right now, how pre-season's gone, transfers, where you think you're at team-wise, whether you're ready or not, into going into your return to the Championship season.
Yeah, so I think in terms of pre-season, obviously coming off the back of that promotion from League One, spending 2 years in there, I think in terms of the matches, they've been pretty poor. We've not had 2 good results in there. I think, obviously, in our most recent one, the one just before the start of the season, we played, I think it was Real Valladolid of Spain, and we beat them 2-1. Okay. I think that's the second win of pre-season. We won against Stockport in Spain when we went there for pre-season training, but we recently lost to Chesterfield, Barnsley, and we conceded quite a few goals. So that probably says where the holes in the team that need filling. In terms of the transfers, I think we've had a good sort of transfer window so far. We've signed players, I think, of championship quality, which I think is exactly what we needed from last season. Obviously, coming up from League One, we've signed a really talented Dutch midfielder in Kenzo Goodmine from Alkmaar. He's come in, he looks a real talent for us, and makes us wonder how long he's going to stay with us if he's that good, and how he looks in pre-season. We've signed David Ozzo on loan from Crystal Palace, who played at the back end of the season for them in the Premiership. So that's some experienced talent in there as well. And we've signed Derby County fan Ben Osborne, obviously a real Championship name there, isn't he? He's spent most of his career in there with obviously our rivals Forest, Sheffield United, and various other clubs. So I think we've done some good business, but I think we may be 2 signings off that solid Championship first 11. I think, like most clubs are this summer, it seems we need a goalkeeper, and there's not that many available, is there? I think we're heavily linked with a Swedish goalkeeper for estimated about £1.5 million, but the deal seems to be dragging out because of depending on, I think, his club's performance in the Conference League and the qualifiers, maybe, if I'm right, but it's a bit confusing. However, he looks a talented keeper if we could bring him in. I think also a position that we're sort of lacking in is probably the left-back position. It seems that when I sort of think about a starting 11, maybe you're putting a square peg in a round hole type of thing there, really. We've got Craig Forsyth, who's been with us for 12 seasons now, a real Derby County, probably fan favourite, but he's 35 now and injuries are more frequent. We've also got Callum Elder, who's got that championship experience with Hull City, but for us he's looked sort of hit and miss, not really had the form to stay in the side. So I think we're maybe 1 or 2 signings off, but at the moment it's probably been a 6.5, 7 out of 10 so far this summer for us, really. It's just all about how we're going to play on that first game, I think.
Yeah, you never quite know until that first game. So what are your hopes and your expectations then? 2 very different things, but hopes and expectations for the season.
I hope that we can just stay up, to be honest. As a newly promoted side, I think it's always that sort of expectation that as long as we stay up. For me, I don't really mind how we do it, whether that's the last day of the season and someone scores an own goal and it means we stay up. I don't really care. It's that final league position. I'd like to finish maybe 1 or 2 places just above it to give me some more confidence heading into the season after that. But the expectation for me is to stay up. I think we've spent enough money this summer, obviously coming off the back of all our problems in previous years, the reason why we went down. I think we've been very sensible with our spending. We've not really spent too much money this summer. I think it's probably just under £2 million, which I don't think is bad business at all, coming up from League One to the Championship and just trying to sign a couple of players who have that quality. So my hope is that we can stay up. I know it's going to be a really tough battle. You look at the Championship now, I think it's it's improving every year, and them teams in the top 6 have so much Premiership quality. And when you look down to the bottom 6, sometimes I think it can be a real slog down there. So the expectation is to hopefully stay up. I think when I look at the table, there's maybe 5 or 6 teams who have a team similar to ours in terms of quality, I would say. So it just depends where we're going to finish in amongst that, but hopefully outside that bottom 3.
Yeah. Any memories of Blackburn? Obviously, you've got Ryan Niambe. How's Ryan doing first?
I think Niambe is one of them players that is probably one of the better performers in the squad consistently last season. Obviously, he came in on a free transfer and it looked like a good bit of business, and it was. Whenever he played, he struggled with injuries a couple of times throughout the season, but whenever he played, he's one of our best players. I think for us, it was sort of a struggle to put him in, week out when he was fit, because we had another right back in Kane Wilson, and both players were very different. Kane Wilson was really good going forward, and that attacking ability when you're near the top end of the league is crucial to score more goals. But then Ryan Niambe was probably one of the best defensive right backs I've seen at Derby, I think. Just really consistently performing, putting in 7, 8 out of 10s week in, week out whenever he played. So I really like Niambe. I think it was really good business to bring him in. I think he's one of them underrated signings. I think if he can stay fit this season, I wouldn't be surprised to see him be a main feature of that team.
That's been Ryan Niambe summed up, I think, for Blackburn, to be fair. I just quite liked him as the right centre half as well. I think that's possibly his position if you're playing the 3 in particular. Any memories of Blackburn? Any memories of games or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I remember I went Blackburn Rovers, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was just before lockdown. I think we might have lost 1-0 there. I'm not sure whether Adam Armstrong scored. I think it was
Probably.
It was one of them. I think we lost 1-0, and it was one of the games where I think we hadn't won away from home yet that season, and it was about January. So it was one of them where we just didn't look like scoring a goal away from home. It was at one point. But then I went again. I think we drew 0-0 maybe, and then I went the last time we played in the midweek and enjoyed it. I think we went 1-0 up, but then we eventually lost 3-1, but it was that season we went down. So I've got a few memories of Ewood Park. I'm hoping for some more positive memories coming on Friday, because it's mainly been quite cold, bleak days, coming away with next to nothing really.
Welcome to our world. To be honest, the other way around, I cannot remember getting anything at Pride Park at all. I think my first memory of going there was we'd just gone back up from the Premier League to the Premier League under Souness. You'd signed Ravanelli. We'd signed an Italian also, but his name was Corrado Grabbi. Yeah, we were just diabolical. But yes, so in terms of the game, how do you think you might line up? Who do we need to watch out for?
So I think in terms of how I expect Derby to line up, Paul Warne has alluded to a 4-3-3, whether that's Paul Warne playing his mind games. We saw it a tiny bit last season, whether he's trying to give something away to the opposition so he can change it. It's not really ever been his preferred formation. The 4-3-3 does like to play the 3 centre-backs and wing-backs, and more of a, I guess, a 5-2, 3-1 or something like that, if that adds up to 11. Can't quite remember that.
I don't think you can play that many, but yeah.
No. He prefers his wing backs for sure, and we play very wide. I think that was something we saw last season, was that even when it wasn't working, we still went out wide, which could feel a little bit relentless when we were losing and it wasn't working. But in terms of the lineup, I think it will be Josh Vickers in goal. He seems to be I think he is our only senior goalkeeper at the moment. The rest are all academy keepers, I think. We've lost 2 goalkeepers, the first choice and third choice this summer. And they'll most likely be, in my opinion, Kane Wilson at right back with Erin Cashin and Curtis Nelson, the 2 centre-backs who were superb last season for us. And then I would expect Callum Elder at left back. It's not my preferred choice. I still think we need to strengthen there, but he seems to be the one preferred throughout pre-season. Then I'd like this to be the midfield. It would be Ebu Adams, who signed from Cardiff after being on loan to us last season, who was crucial in us gaining promotion. And then David Ozzo on loan from Palace in the midfield as well, with Kenzo Gudmine. So 3 new signings in the middle of the park for me. And then out wide would be probably one of our, if not most dangerous players, Nathaniel Mendez-Lang, out on the right wing, if I'm right. Last season he was superb for us. I think he's up for PFA Player of the Season in League One now, announced today. I think he got something like 16 assists last season. He broke the club record. he was absolutely incredible. Every time he got the ball, it looked like he'd create something. And if he can carry that on into the Championship, I know he's obviously an aging player now. We've got him at the back end of his career. If he can continue that, then hopefully we might have a chance of a couple of goals. And then I would expect Caden Jackson up top. I think obviously signed him from Ipswich. He looks a talented player, and hopefully we can get some goals from him. It probably would be Jerry Yates, but he's suspended off the back of last season with Swansea.
Yes.
And then on the other wing, I would expect it to be Tom Barkhazen, who I think, again, I think we do need to strengthen in that wing position where Barkhazen is, but it's not priority. I think Barkhazen's been very in and out of form with Derby. He goes through a purple patch every January where he scores like 11 goals in 6 games and is unbelievable, but then gets injured. So it's one of them where he's sort of in and out of form. You never know whether he's going to put in a really good performance and score a goal. But one thing we do know is he's very quick on the wing, so it's quite handy. But I'd go for that 4-3-3 if I had to pick that. But yeah, that's my team selection.
Well, if he's playing on the wing, I guarantee he will score. He used to play for Preston, obviously, and used to score every single time against Rovers, usually a worldie as well. So go on, I'll put you on the spot. Prediction for a score.
I'll go with a safe bet of an optimistic 2-1 win. A bit of everything in the game, a goal for both sides. But I think for me, if we go a goal down within that 15 minutes, I think it's going to be a difficult night for Derby County. And last season, we were good at coming back from games, but I think we're in a new league now against better opposition who play the ball on the floor a little bit more. And I'm a fan of John Eustace as a manager. I've seen him as a player for Derby, and I've liked what he's done in the managerial roles at whatever clubs he's at. So, yeah, I think it's key for us to be in the game in the first 20 minutes, keep it at 0-0, and then see where we can build from there. So I'll go with an optimistic 2-1, but if we drew 1-1, so both sides get to see a goal, a bit of entertainment, then I'd definitely take a point in that first game, because I think we just need a couple of results to build on at the start of the season.
Yeah. It's important, isn't it, when you kick off? Well, thank you very much for that, Adam. If you just want to remind us all where we can find yourself and find the Rams Talk podcast.
So you can find the Rams Talk podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you listen to your podcasts on, or look for us on social media, and you can find us all there.
Brilliant. And we'll get you all tagged up in that. But thank you very much. And that's the first of our Behind Enemy Lines.
I've been a Welsh Rover.